Hello, hello. Thank you so much for watching. This week, I want to talk to you about the process of getting this YouTube video together and what that looks like as a prolific overthinker, as a trauma and PTSD survivor, and as someone who, as a result of those things, happens to be a neuro-divergent human. Getting into all of that will also serve the purpose of getting to know each other a little bit better, as this is part of my story and where I come from. And so little by slowly, I imagine we'll continue to get to know one another here on this platform. Please make sure that you watch this video until the end, because towards the end, middle or end of the video, we're going to get into divination or tarot pulls, simplified versions of divination and tarot pulls for the overthinker, for the neurodivergent human, for the trauma and PTSD survivor. Those will serve the purpose of simplification for the present moment, and will also, thank goodness, really serve to allow us to be able to further tap into our relationship with the divine. Once again, I'll ask you to like this video, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. And above all else, if you know anyone that might benefit from this video in any way, please share it far and wide. Together we heal. Thank you for watching. Hello, 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 everybody. How are you? How's your week so far? How's your head? How's your mind right now? How is your heart, your big, beautiful, precious heart? How are you feeling? How's your body, your beautiful, perfect body? I hope very much that this finds you happy, joyous, and free, surrounded by safety, love, truth, healing, abundance, and hope. We are still very much in the middle of a Mercury retrograde right now, and it is usually in my best interest to keep things for myself and my family, our household, as simple as possible during retrograde, specifically Mercury retrograde, because of the way that my chart is set up. The more I was thinking about what kind of spread might be useful for me to present to you, for us to explore and discover and expand upon, the more true to form, and this is very common for me, the more I began to think and overthink, and then think some more and think some more on top of that. And I realized that I was just sort of spinning myself into a circle of what quickly for me can become overwhelm, what quickly for me can become anxiety, which then, can at some points catapult me further into what begins to look like depression. And it's as some people may be familiar with, this overthinking turns into anxiety and shame, and then overwork and fatigue and depression and anger and shame, and then resolve to try to do better next time, and then overthinking that. And let's take a deep breath on that. Is that my thought process for everything I do every day, all the time? No. But when things really, really, really matter to me, I am a prey to overthinking for, again, lots of reasons. I'll leave that thought there and pick up the thought of what I wanted to talk to you about this week, which has a lot to do with getting to know each other. Who are you? Who are you and who am I? What do you already know about me? And are you able to make the connections of who I am as a person to the way that I present to you, and the magic that we discuss, the magic that we make together? Who are we to each other? What do we have in common? What can we learn from one another that is completely new or foreign to us? I thought, well, some of these people maybe know who I am and some don't know me at all. And so I thought I would tell you about myself. I happen to be a witch, a certified freak weirdo, a beloved freak, a beloved weirdo, a beloved witch, a beloved community servant, priest for Crow Mother. I am all of those things, while I happen to be someone who is a survivor of some pretty extreme childhood trauma and abuse. I happen to be a working witch, a community servant, a certified beloved freak and weirdo that is living with complex PTSD. I happen to be all of those wonderful, beautiful, thankful things while living with the deeply ingrained effects of those events, those long chapters of the first half of my life, and the way that they have shaped my brain chemistry and in turn my body chemistry. So when I ask, how is your head? How is your heart? How is your mind? How is your heart? How is your body? I am doing so because I care very much about you. And it also gives me reason or cause to stop and check in with myself. How am I doing? Am I slow enough to regain a place of balance or stasis? I happen to be able to do a host of wonderful, deeply meaningful jobs while working very, 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 very hard to pull myself out of the effects of some pretty incredible trauma. I may even, as a result of all of that, be working with neurodivergency, some of that beautiful workings of the brain. My story, as with anyone else, absolutely influences how I practice this work. It absolutely influences my need to be, again, as simple as possible. I am doing my very best to slowly to keep things as simple and clear as possible. And there's a lot of reasons for that. You know, first and most obvious among them is that any and every hole in the net of the way I communicate to the world via any internet platform to you, the way that I communicate or don't communicate with myself, my friends, my family, any place in my life that the net of my communication touches, if there are holes in that net, they will absolutely be exposed during a Mercury retrograde. So first among the reasons for keeping things slow and clear and simple is that I've learned the hard way, and as a grown-ass woman, as a grown-ass witch, I am trying to learn as I go in real time what works, and moving slowly and clearly is the best for me. So initially I set out to make this video centered around a formally designed tarot spread for the overthinker, you know, tarot or divination for the overthinker, tarot or divination for the neuro-divergent human, tarot or divination for, hey Pookie, we might have a visitor, come here, tarot or divination for the 12-year-old Muppet that's about to hop into my lap, come here. Okay, this is a treat because she rarely, if ever, wants to be involved in what I do. So initially I set out to make this YouTube video centered around a neatly packaged tarot spread, designed something to the effect of tarot and divination for the overthinker, tarot and divination for the neurodivergent human, tarot and divination for the person living with PTSD. Instead of creating, or excuse me, let me backtrack and just be as human as I can be. Instead of pushing myself towards, the increasing feelings of anxiety because I just couldn't wrap my head around what would be the perfect way to make another YouTube video for something that feels very important to me. I just decided to come here and talk to you about it. What I know is that presence, pausing, breath as best I can access it are sometimes the very, 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 very best. And again, back to simplicity and clarity, right? Through something like Mercury retrograde for somebody like me. Breath, pausing, and any kind of stillness that I can bring about for myself are sometimes the strongest tools I have toward efforts at divination. Pausing, trying as best I can to be present in my own body, and as much breath as I am able to access for myself from moment to moment, especially when I'm feeling overwhelmed. Those are, again, some of the strongest tools I have towards my efforts at divination, towards my efforts at really anything, but for the purpose of our conversation, let's just stick with divination. When I stop and I take a breath and I ask myself, what do I need right now, right? Where am I? Where am I? Why am I feeling so overwhelmed? Is it because I'm afraid? Is it because, and the answer is yes. I don't even need to ask any more qualifying questions. There's usually a root of fear there somewhere. Any other descriptive I could give you is 99.9% of the time going to be pared down to fear of something. And now that you are beginning to see a little bit about the darker side of who I am, or I guess my background, I hope that gives you a bit of clarity as to why my go-to is just fear, right? When unchecked, my go-to is just fear. Okay, so you're afraid. Yes, okay. What do you need? I need some direction. I need some guidance. I need some clarity. I need. Are your needs not being met? Maybe, maybe not. So, as a working witch, a conduit, a community servant, priest, community member who happens to have survived childhood trauma and be living with complex PTSD and likely be neuro-divergent as a result of some of that. Especially during a Mercury retrograde, I decided to just keep things really, really, really clear and simple for myself. I have but one card question to offer you. Just one, because if you're like me and you enter into closed loops of overthinking, overdoing, if you happen to be living with PTSD to any degree, if you happen to be a neurodivergent human being, or if you know anyone who happens to be living with any of those assets, I have but one, maybe two things to offer you. Ma'am, I'm feeling especially sassy today. I have but one, maybe two things to offer you, as opposed to the big, complicated tarot spread that I set out to make or present to you within this YouTube video. I was going to center this particular video around tarot for the overthinker, or tarot and divination for the overthinker. I wanted to make it long and complicated and in turn most likely overthink, overwork my brain, my heart. But instead, what we're going to do is we're going to just go back to the principles that we're going to go back to what works for me in almost any situation where I find myself like overthinking, aka overwhelmed. Overthinking almost invariably means that I'm overwhelmed. I'm afraid. I am gonna work too hard over the situation or the event, and then I'm going to exhaust myself, and then I'm going to be ashamed, and it's gonna go in a spiral. And so if you fall under any of these categories and you happen to practice tarot or any other form of divination, or if you know someone who lives with those assets and is interested in tarot or divination, we're going to talk about, or go back to rather, the power of breath, the power of the pause, and enabling that moment to check in, to ask one question for our purposes of tarot and divination. And remember that your presence within the realm of tarot or any form of divination is a relationship. It is a relationship between you and spirit, source, the divine, angels, masters, spirits. And in this relationship, you have the right and responsibility to ask for what you need. You have the right and responsibility to just pause. You have the right to remember that it's not all your load to bear figuring out this work, figuring out what to do next. You have the right and responsibility to remember to accept help. One part maybe of your practice is asking for inspiration, asking for the muse, and the other part is preparing yourself, preparing the temple of the mind, the body, and the spirit to accept this help, accept this information. From there, we take a breath. We pause. And we remember our right and responsibility to be actively engaged in the relationship of communication between us and spirit. And then, because we remember that we're actively engaged and we are one half of this partnership between us and spirit, we then remember we don't have to do all the work or any of the work. Maybe today you just want to be a conduit, nothing more. You just want to be the messenger. So then you ask the question, or you can ask it in the form of a question, or you ask to be, yes ma'am, you ask to be shown. Blessed spirits, angels, masters, please show me what the world needs the most right now. Blessed spirits, angels, masters, please show me what the collective consciousness is most in need of right now. And then the third variation, blessed spirits, angels, and masters, please show me what the world needs the most that I have not been able to see. This in turn sort of frees you up to acknowledge that there's more out there than the human mind could conceive. And then you move into, if you're feeling jazzy, you move into second card. Please show me how I can best show up for this need. How do I best show up for this need? Show me what the world needs the most that I haven't been able to see. Boom. How do I show up for this need? Boom. And then third, in the name of simplicity, special guidance from the unknown. You know, it is not easy to live in the world as a sensitive individual. It's not easy to live in the world at all sometimes, especially right now. You know, it is certainly challenging to live in the world with, or at least it feels that way for me, to live in the world with all the stuff I'm working with as a highly sensitive individual who cares very, very much about this work and about remaining a servant of the community and showing up for the community and myself and this tiny tyrant in my lap. You know, and the motivation, bye-bye, for that is pure and good and true. You know, I just want to do it right. And I don't know if you relate to that. We just want to do it right. We just want to make sure it's right. There's a lot of reasons behind that I think we could unpack. Maybe that's a discussion for another time, but just know that you showing up in the world as it is, with whatever it is you happen to be working with, anxiety, depression, sensitivity, overthinking, neurodivergency, it doesn't matter, any of it. You showing up as you are is perfect and good and wonderful and beautiful. And the fact that you seek communication from the wild unknown, from the realm of the spirit, especially, you know, when there's so much that you could be interpreting from whatever's around us at any time. Whew, that's a lot. So let's just keep it simple for right now, just right now, and maybe we'll just overcomplicate the shit out of everything some other time or another day. But for now, let's remember our breath. Let's remember that we don't have to get it perfect. It already is perfect because the foundation of the relationship between us and spirit is perfect, just as it is. We'll keep it simple. We'll keep it as clear as possible. One final check-in with your mind, your head, your heart, your beautiful body. How are you? I hope that this time together has inspired you to feel a bit more settled, or a bit more that you have the right to be simple and as settled as you need to be. Take a deep breath in and out. Merry meet, merry part, and merry may we meet again. Have a beautiful week.